Hey, welcome to Collector Chatter. I'm your host, Miguel, here, with my co-host Charlie. This is episode 64. We were away again for a couple of weeks, had a little vacation, but we're back. We're ready to talk about the latest Funko news, a lot of cool stuff that came out, and some things that I know Charlie is definitely going to be excited to talk about because it's Star Wars related, and we have a bunch of other cool stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about what came out of Star Wars Celebration, not just collectibles, but also the new movies and shows that are coming out. All right, with that being said, let's chat.
All right, guys, let's chat. We're back. We're here ready to talk about another great episode full of stuff with Funko, Funko news. We got some drops. We're going to talk about probably the last 2 weeks or so because we were away for an extra week. Stuff that got us excited. There's some cool stuff coming out. There's some lines that are pretty sick. There's one specifically that I know Charlie was talking about for a little while, and there's a little theory that we had that he obviously mentioned that actually looks like it's true. We'll talk about that. He knows what I'm talking about. And then we'll get into a lot of sodas that came out, some Star Wars stuff specifically as well. Very excited. But you can start us off right off the bat. Charlie, let us know,
Yeah.
something that got you excited because I know there was a lot of great stuff. Definitely this in the last couple of weeks at least.
One thing that got me super excited was the announcement of the last Ronin Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle soda, and it's a PX exclusive. I think the soda is super sick. For those who aren't really familiar with this is it's kind of a current comic version. There was a graphic novel of this character. Don't really want to spoil for anyone if they did want to get into it, but it's kind of like the most current adult kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle thing out there. And I think it's pretty cool that they've given us a soda, and the chase is awesome. It's got the black and white look,
Yeah.
and it leads me to believe we're probably going to get a Funko Pop of this as well. It's kind of cool that the first thing we're getting of this character is in soda. But I'm super excited for this one. I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, the mold is sick. It's like the color version, the black and gray one's really cool. We saw that combination in pops for like the
Yes,
comic style ones that they came out
correct.
with. It just wasn't specifically this like storyline, the last Ronin one. But yeah, it's super cool. It's definitely like a soda mold that looks really cool. It's a great chase combination as well. So it's like, we love when they do that, when the mold and the character looks great, but also when they do a chase that looks awesome, it makes it even better. So yeah, it's a PX exclusive. So obviously it'll be one of those ones that you'll get at local shops or like a Gemini's collectible might have them online or somebody
Yeah,
like that. You're not gonna get it directly like through Funko, although Funko has been selling some PX exclusive stuff sometimes now. So
yeah,
who
they
knows?
get them
Maybe,
now.
maybe you'll find it on there. So we'll see. But yeah, that was also one that I thought was pretty sick as well, myself personally. But a line that got me super excited. So there was a few lines that were announced like as brand new ones. And this was from a show that I think is an amazing show. This was the Yellowstone Pops,
Yes.
which is pretty awesome. It's really cool. I didn't think about this show being one that Funko would, take and have make pops out of, but it makes sense. There's enough characters, they have a look, they're unique, cowboy hats and buckles and that whole thing. But really cool is this line, I think was like 6 or 8 different ones that were announced, I think, on it.
There's
Um
five.
or five. Okay. Yeah, and then is there a chase or there's
I don't think
there,
so because
it's just
it's
two versions of one of the characters, I believe.
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So there is
Yeah.
six of them. There's two of Rip.
Yeah.
One he's holding a cooler. It's going to be a Funko Shop
It's a
exclusive, so
Funko Shop exclusive, that's what it
it's
is. Yeah,
not
not
a
a
chase,
chase.
which it
Yeah.
kind of should have been.
Yeah, because it was
Um,
too like similar.
it's weird because so I'm happy you brought these up. I'm super, super pumped for this line. I've been wanting these for a long time, actually. I was shocked that we haven't gotten them. The one thing I find interesting, and it makes me feel like, does he not want to pop? I don't know if you've noticed, there isn't a Jamie one. Every other major character is getting a pop besides him, and
Yeah,
he's a main character.
especially when they double up on Rip, like
Rip.
like like he's. I mean, obviously they're all kind of pretty main characters. Like
Yeah.
there's obviously Kevin Costner's obviously the main one, but in reality, if you really watch the show, they all have big enough storylines that they are pretty equal. And yeah, Jamie obviously has his own like storyline that definitely, and he's like a unique looking
Yeah,
character. So like they could have totally made him into pop
it's
Funko. Yeah,
weird.
it's interesting if maybe it's something that'll come in a later wave, or if, like you said, maybe it's just not
It'd be cool if it's a
somebody
con
that signed
pop.
off on that.
I
Yeah.
just feel like we need if you're a fan, you're gonna want his character. Like you got Casey's wife, which nothing against her, but
Yeah.
like
A
she does
little.
not deserve a Funko Pop over Jamie. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Or
personally
at
hate that
least not in the
character.
initial
So
wave. At least
yeah,
yeah,
not in the
not in like
initial
the
wave.
initial wave. Yeah. But yeah, great, definitely a great series. Got a bunch of seasons out. Not fully caught up on it actually. It's one of those ones I've been watching it kind of. I haven't binged it. It's like it is a longer episode, sit down, but I'll throw in an episode here and there amongst a bunch of other stuff that I feel like I've been watching lately because now I have other shows that are also coming back or shows that I'm trying to get into, and it's like it's been a little hectic. But um the line coming out for Funko, that's pretty sick. I mean, I love that they do this with these like big series now, and you'll
Yeah.
get like an initial wave, which I think is really cool. And as I said, series, my HomePod just thought I said
Yes.
the female SIRI, and she's talking right now. It's kind of weird. It like heard me. It's like when you have like I don't have one by, but when you say have an Alexa by you and you say it,
Yeah,
it
I love that.
turns on.
It's
All
amazing.
right, you go. What else we got?
Another pop, it's already out now. People have it in hand. But I was excited for it was the Lights and Sound Black Panther Funko Shop exclusive.
Oh yeah,
That that's an interesting line in my opinion. Kind of came out a few years ago. Then they kind of stopped, and then they recently had brought it back with like that Batman and Flash Funko Shop exclusive, which they've kind of sit on the Funko Shop shelves, but
yeah. They don't sell well.
I thought the Black Panther one just looked cool. The mold in general. I'm also just like a sucker for most of the Black Panther pops, especially T'Challa. So I had to get this one. I don't have any of the other ones. I have Star Wars ones, but I don't have any of the comic ones. But this is one I wanted to add to my collection.
Do they have trying to think because I don't know if I have one or not. But do they have like the hole to like press the button in the box or you have to take them out?
You have to take it out.
Okay, because I know that they make was it Mysterio that like lit up
Yes.
and that one had a hole where you can press the button while it was in the box. But I don't think it was a lights and sounds one. That's why I was asking because I was assuming this one's probably the setup is different. Um the first initial one, whenever I hear lights and sounds, I always think of the Vader one as being like
Yes.
the big one. And then, like you said, they've come out with some here and there. I know there was like the Batman one that was out, and then
They had
now we
come out
got
with an
the
Iron
Black
Man
Panther.
one a few years ago, which was a Walgreens exclusive.
That's where it was
It's
random.
super weird. And everyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that was the only one for a while.
Yeah, they don't really make them often. I mean, assuming it's a little harder for them to make, and I don't know. It's very niche. Like it's not like
Yeah,
everyone would want it, and also like really depends on the character. Like you got to have something that kind of fit. You can't just have a random character just with a
exactly.
sound, or lighting up or whatever. That's why I thought like the Vader one was like perfect.
Yeah, they
Like
make
it had
Kylo
his like
Ren. Yeah, they're
sound
perfect.
and it has like the light and everything. So that was a cool one. Um, we also speaking of along those lines, there was an announcement of an 18-inch. We have another 18-inch coming out. This is, of course, the biggest version that they make a Funko Pop. If you guys don't know, there's a handful of them, so there's not many. It costs like $100, retail. And we're getting a Darth Vader one,
Yes.
which is like so perfect. Like for the most part, I feel like they've knocked these out of the park with like who they chose to come out with it. Like they of course have the Batman, they have the classic Batman, they have Iron Man, which I know we were both super excited when we were to get that. They do make Groot, Pikachu, I think a Harry Potter, and I think that's about it. And then now we're getting a Darth Vader, which is like sick because I know when the 10-inch Vader came out, we were like, that is sick. That's
Yes.
awesome. He's a great character, making him big. That looks great. And now there's an 18-inch version that's coming out of it, which is gonna be freaking bananas. That thing's probably gonna look like so sick. And like granted, we always make this joke. I'm like, yes, 90% of the Vader pops look the same,
I don't
but
care.
this thing is gonna be so sick. Yeah. And the detail they're probably gonna put into it because the detail is always awesome on the bigger ones. It's gonna be like a statement. Like this thing's gonna be sick on like some kind of table or something at this point.
I mean, I'm so pumped for it. I just part of me is like, do you think like most of these 18 inchers that it's just gonna like sit there and it's niche for people who
Yeah,
want
yeah.
them?
I think the price and the size draw a lot of people away from it. Like I remember when I had opened up both of mine, I did like videos for them, but I think specifically for the Iron Man, I kind of like made it like thumbnailed and
Yeah.
titled like, is this worth it? You know, like are these like is it, you know, whatever. And it's like a lot of people were like commenting and were like, no, because it's huge, or like where are you gonna put it? And like I'm not gonna lie, like both of the ones I have a Batman and Iron Man, they're in the boxes still. And I can't even display them anywhere because I just don't have
Yeah,
place
mine too.
to. And they're literally just sitting in two boxes stacked on the side of like my room. And the box itself doesn't have a window, obviously, it's too big and too heavy, so it just has, like, the side boxes, like,
Yeah.
the art or whatever of it, and that's about it, so, like and then the price point, I mean, price point steers people away from $50 die casts. $100 is, like, no for a ton of people
Yeah.
just off the bat, so I can see it sitting around, and I mean, I know I sent something out to, I think you and Trey, where some were on sale, like
Yeah,
Harry
it's
Potter,
Sam's.
Batman, a couple at Sam's Club, which were, yeah, like, you know, good discounted price off, because they're probably trying to get rid of them. And it's interesting because it's definitely an item that's not, it's like super sick. It's amazing. If you can get one, definitely get your hands on one, especially if it's one of your favorite characters. But it's not like an everybody type of thing.
No, it's not.
Like, but I mean, this one maybe it's going into like, so they've done the major lines. Obviously, we have Harry Potter, we have DC, we have Marvel. Now we're getting a Star Wars, so it's like, okay, the only thing that's missing, I guess, is maybe like a Mickey or something if they want to do something Disney, but which
I
that
feel like we're gonna
they
get
could
that.
probably make. Yeah, at this point, I'm surprised they don't already.
I
Honestly,
agree.
of all characters, but yeah, but the Vader one definitely sick, and it was something that I know you were kind of mad and happy at the same time because it's like, goddamn, now I want to get this. I have to
Yes,
have this type of thing.
100%. It's like, I know my wife definitely isn't gonna want me to get that, but I need to get it. So it just is what it is. But just even to continue with the Lucas film, I was gonna wait a little bit in the episode to talk about this because they are something that was newer, released not in the past, like the beginning of the weeks, but Indiana Jones pops. I'm super pumped for. This line is straight fire. It hits, you know, the first three movies. They didn't make any of Crystal Skull, which I've seen some people kind of be like, what the hell? But that is the worst movie out of all of them. But I love that they totally, we got Raiders, we got Temple of Doom, and we got Last Crusade. They've done, the major characters from everything. We're getting, pop moments, from, Raiders when the boulder's coming. We're getting a pop moment from actually each movie, or a pop ride, or one like a special one, which I think is awesome. We're getting keychains. We're even getting a die cast, which I'm super pumped about as
Yeah.
well. Um, I have so they only make a select like full of Indiana Jones pops. They actually two of them are Disney Parks exclusives, and one was a con exclusive, which is super super limited. I have one of them, but they're all actually technically based off of the box says like the ride in Disneyland, which I've
Hmm.
always found interesting.
There's a ride in Disneyland.
Yeah, there's a ride in
Okay,
Disneyland.
nice.
So these are the first that like are from the movie. And like I said, I think this is going to be a pretty hot line. I think a lot of people are excited about this. We're going to get, I even think people into Funko, this is crazy, but like that probably have never really gotten many Funkos before. They're gonna want these. And the other thing I find really interesting, which we've talked a lot about this in the past about Harrison Ford. Why don't
Yeah,
we have a solo soda? Why won't we be getting new Han Solo pops? I wonder if we're gonna start getting them now if they kind of re-up something of his likeness or just complete coincidence. But I can go on all day.
yeah.
How do you
I was
feel
gonna
about
bring. Well, no, I was gonna bring that up because I was gonna say, like, does this mean that like there was an issue with that, and now they have the rights, and maybe they'll come out with the solo character ones, but like maybe they just don't want to, or maybe like
Yeah.
that's a separate, even though it's like him and the same actor, maybe it is separate. So it is interesting because once I saw that these were coming out, I was like, well, obviously it's not that they can't make Harrison Ford pops anymore because clearly
Yeah.
they've done it in the past and they're doing it again. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the line, yeah, it's a pretty big line. It's interesting, like you said, that it's coming out with like multiple movies. I was, I was a little bit surprised because obviously the movie's been out for a long time, and we didn't have really too many of these pops. But then, like with the talks of the new movie, I was like, okay, maybe they'll release a line for like the new movie and the new
Yeah.
characters, and that's where they would go. But they didn't. They kind of went more classic, and they went with like spanning across multiple movies and giving you like nice individual pops and then like these moments and these specialty style ones, which is cool. And then getting a die cast out of it's actually pretty awesome as well. Um, Obviously they make like him in that style already as like I think a 10-inch they make. I think it was like two different,
Yeah, there's a
right? There's
10
like the
inch.
gold one or whatever.
Yeah, one,
So
which that was a con one.
exclusive one, right? Yeah. So they like make those and they make a couple other random ones. But it's cool that we're getting like a die cast of him because that is definitely a big character, big iconic character. Funny thing, and I'm gonna admit it, but I've never seen any of the movies like in their entirety at all.
Oh my God. If you are, this is a perfect time to plug. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, you need to come over to YouTube to see my face right now because I'm extremely disappointed in Migs right now.
And I feel like it's a funny one that's like always been something that just like kind of slips through the cracks. It's never been like a conversation that people just like I don't know, it's never been brought up and people talk about it. I know who he is and enough of it that I'm like, yeah, and I can kind of just get in the conversation and never say anything about it. But yeah, I don't know. It was something that I never was something felt like I would ever get into in the past, like when they really came out. And then I think as I was older, it was just like one of those. I mean, I'm sure you have a movie or a show that
Yeah,
probably falls in this where you're like, damn, I probably should have, or why haven't I ever gotten into this? But like because so much other stuff comes out that gets
totally.
pushed aside, type of thing. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with this. And it's interesting because it was always been something I was like intrigued about and wanted to because I know it's like so much so that kind of just kind of when you I don't it was one of the episodes that we were talking about something, and I think you were talking about like Willow,
Yep.
and somehow you mentioned this and whatever it was, and you said the whole Lucasfilm thing. I didn't know that it was even tied to that originally. Like and then knowing that like it was obviously into the Disney and everything, I was like, okay, that's why it's in this world. But I always thought it was kind of just its own thing. I never knew like to me, George Lucas was always Star Wars. And
Yeah.
that's all I ever knew him of, as let's say. So that was all like new stuff that I would learn from whenever you would talk about something. So it is kind of funny, and I knew you were a big fan of it, so I didn't want to be like, hey, yeah, I've never seen,
Dude, Raiders
yeah,
of the
Joe
Lost
sucks, but
Ark.
it's not because obviously I don't think it does. I just have never seen it.
It's probably one of the greatest action movies ever made.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I've been to Disney and seen the like
The stunt
little
show.
stunt show. Yeah, I've done that once, like a long time ago when I went to Disney years ago, and like, 'cause, it's like one of those characters, like everyone knows who that is. Everyone knows Harrison Ford looking like his outfit, the whip, like the ball. Like people know that even if you've
Yeah,
never seen the movie, because that's
it's
kind of where
totally
I
true.
was. So it was always one of those things. But yeah, I mean, feel free to you guys could bash me or do whatever you
Well,
want. But like
you should
trust me,
watch
there's
this.
stuff that I'm pretty sure Charlie hasn't watched or other people have watched, and I'm always like, what? So this is kind of one that
Oh, everyone
I
has
could
that.
put in there. Yeah.
Totally. But it's funny you bring that up, the whole Lucasfilm thing, so everyone too. You can see the images of this on the YouTube version, but these have stands as well.
Hmm.
So what you were alluding to,
Just like the
so
Willow one,
the
basically that
Willow
you mentioned. Yep.
ones, it's funny because like obviously everyone has heard like my introduction into Funko Pops was basically the Star Wars ones, and I remember when I finally got Funko Pops that weren't Star Wars ones, I kind of missed the stand. I don't think I've ever really mentioned that on the podcast. Like, I like the look of the stand. I kind of wish every Funko Pop had that. That may be a hot take, and a lot of people may totally disagree, especially if you're an out of box collector. They will always stand. You have no issues with it because even pops that a lot of time the female character pops that they give
Hmm.
these small skinny legs, if you take them out of the box, some people may not even know this exists because they never take them out of the box, but
Yeah,
they'll come with this
I just saw a
little
TikTok recently about this.
it's amazing. A little like acrylic circle, and you put it under like into a little hole, and even those don't work half the time.
Yeah, no.
Let
Yeah,
me
they'll
know in the
fall
comments
over
what
if
you
they're too
think.
top heavy. Like that happens a lot with these.
And
So it is
the Indiana
interesting.
Jones ones, like they actually look the best. They kind of fit within the look. I feel like of these pops. Now you're just everyone knows the Star Wars ones are just black and it says Star Wars. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I like that part that you said because I always found the Star Wars ones. I guess like I agree with you that like they do look cooler, especially if you're out of box. But because they were always the same and it was just like a black, that's the reason why I did like when you would once in a while get a Star Wars one that happened to be like a
Different.
sandy color or like something different, but depending on what it was, or if it was like a moment and you got the base being a little bit bigger, it like looked a little better because it wasn't just like a legit black small platform. So like these kind of being in that route, they look cooler. Like they do look like they fit. And obviously, yeah, taking them out of the box is like perfect because they will stand every single time essentially. So definitely super cool. And I mean, like it's just a very interesting like thing though. It's interesting that Lucasfilm's versions of things are what those are. So it's like obviously this original type license thing, same thing where they all being bobbleheads, and the same thing with Marvel always being bobbleheads, like just these little things that are included that if you're just kind of a random person that collects things here and there, you may not even notice that. And it's just an interesting little like thing that they do. But yeah, the Indiana Jones ones I knew those are kind of the ones I was alluding to as well early on that I knew you would be super hyped about because I know this was a big deal for you, especially when they came out with this big wave and a bunch of stuff that you were like super hyped about. Um, that was definitely like, a really cool line. And that fell along with as well as like the Yellowstone and that being like these two big waves that we
Yeah.
got announced that were like, things that we actually do enjoy. Um, that got announced. So we also let's see, we had so a little bit more Star Wars news as well. So we had the Bitty Pops is the newest line for Star Wars. So we talked about this in the past, and we've gotten DC and Disney ones and the Ninja Turtles, and Harry Potter, and now we're getting Star Wars ones, which is really cool. It's the same kind of setup as well with four. I think it's like four different sets of three, and then like the
Yep.
four like mystery ones that you can get and you kind of can mix and match, try to get them. They look really cool. Again, these things are crazy how detailed they are for being so tiny, like in the paint and in the molds. It's like crazy. But you pointed this out. Obviously, you know a lot more about the Star Wars line, specifically with the pops, because there's so many of them. But a ton of these are like new molds, you were saying, right? Even though they're
Yeah.
itty bitty and literally can not always tell exactly, but it does look like they have a lot of the big characters. Like they did a pretty good job with this
They're
one, I would
awesome.
say, like as far as those. Like I know you don't have any of these and you've kind of mentioned like maybe getting some here and there, but like do you think you're gonna get these?
I'm definitely getting these.
Yeah.
100%. I'm gonna buy every one too.
Just to get them.
Yeah, I think they're super. I mean, yeah, I haven't gotten any of them. Like I said, I probably want to get some of the Disney ones. I just haven't yet. But the
Yeah.
Star Wars ones, I definitely will probably buy one of each of them. Um, so I'm super excited for them. And like you said, their details are amazing. Some of these molds, like they do look a little different. It's kind of like the
Mhm.
Obi-Wan Kenobi one, for example, the Luke. I think I've said this multiple times. I think these are going to be huge for Funko, and I even think like getting the Star Wars ones, and like I know they're coming out with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones. They're
Mhm.
going to get like some of the people who they probably didn't even think they'd get are going to want these. Like I think I'm even seeing people make videos on YouTube that, quite frankly, I never thought would get these, and
Mhm.
even they're excited about them. So yeah, I can go on all day about these. I know I don't have them yet, but the Star Wars ones I definitely want to add to my collection.
Yeah, they're pretty sick. But yeah, those are ones that were pretty cool. Definitely stood out that we're getting
That
those.
was like the big Star Wars, I feel like, celebration, like reveal at the panel, which was we kind of predicted it. I thought it was a little weak, like there wasn't much. And I know I was going pretty hard on why did we only get two Funko Pops from
Hmm.
Celebration, where last year we got a ton. But I think I may have like my theory to this now. I think it's because it was in Europe this year. And I know they do them online for everyone to buy, but Funko just is, we all know it's just not as big there. And I wonder if they just didn't want to have all those exclusives there because even though people
Like at the
travel
event.
at the
Yeah.
event, even though I know people travel from all over the world, plenty of people from the States, I just feel like that has to be it because we all know Star Wars is still a huge line for them. This is just as big. I mean, this is a huge convention. Getting those two, which were also, I liked them, but they were completely random with absolutely no tie-ins, like anything at all. It's just super, super strange.
Hmm.
So, but another thing that came out of there, which I actually think I'm pretty excited for, I may get one of the, booster packs wherever try out. They're coming out with a new card game, Star Wars Rivals, I think it's called. And they have these like little mini figures that go along with it. I don't know if I'd actually even try to play the game or just see what they look like, try to collect them. But I like that. I know Funko's been in the game space for a while now. I don't know if they've had many hits, but I
Yeah.
do think this one could be something for them. I don't know
Yeah.
what your thoughts
Which
on that is.
Uh, I mean, it's interesting. The game stuff in general that they usually kind of do are a little like it's funny because I have like the blue board games they come out with where they have a couple of the small
Yeah, the
like mini
Funkoverse.
size figure yeah, Funkoverse. I have like the DC ones, like most of those, like the Batman's Joker, the animated like style and everything, whatever. Um, and mostly just because of that, like super, super niche, but like
Yeah.
they're not even opened. I've never opened them. I've never taken out the figures. I've never looked at what the board looks like, nothing. So like I don't really see myself playing the games necessarily. So like a lot of times they come out with some of these other games and board games and things. And that kind of just falls into that where I'm not like, eh. And and this is like kind of it's funny because like this is the cards that they came out with. They didn't announce the NFTs that we thought they were gonna announce.
I
It's like
know.
it could have been even
Sucks.
cooler. So like not that we know that's even true. This is all rumored, but like supposedly it's getting a lot of backing where this they are going to come out. But I did remember seeing or reading that like it was something that was kind of far out. So I didn't really have faith that they were going to announce it now because it might be something that we see like towards the end of the year or we'll get some more, which I did want to get into just for a second to talk about because I know we talk about it every week usually when we talk
Yeah.
about stuff is NFTs and stuff, and we haven't gotten news on a new drop, which was
No.
interesting because two things happened. Well, one, we usually get these like every 2 weeks or so. That's kind of how it's been. We've been saying that they need to slow it down, which is funny because now it seems like it's been a bit of slow. But one thing happened that has not happened before, and it was when they dropped two in 1 week because of that
Yeah.
whole surprise April Fools, which was kind of like I guess their way of getting another one out. But some people were kind of like, "Whoa, now slow down. Hopefully, we don't get them again so quick." And we haven't been. It's been a little while, but I don't know if you were like kind of surprised by that or not because I've kind of been
Yeah.
just
I'm surprised by it.
even that we're not getting an announcement yet. Usually we do by the end of like it would have happened the end of last week. We probably would have got an announcement that in a week or so we would get something new. But still nothing. No, like we obviously have that list of like these are probably going to be what's coming next. We've got a couple knocked off that list, but it would be, I believe, like it or Dark Knight or one of those ones that we saw on that line being next, but not really much
Yeah. I think
from
it's
drop at
weird.
least.
I mean, in my opinion, the April Fool's one should have just been an extra one. I mean, I'm not
Mm,
going to complain for my wallet, but it is weird we haven't heard anything at all. Like if we don't hear, traditionally we hear them on Fridays. If we don't
mhm.
hear something this Friday, I would be kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah, then it'd be a whole nother week. Yeah. I mean, and obviously the holiday. So like some
Yeah.
things kind of get a little bit,
It will
different
be
timing, but
interesting though. If it is it, then that list is 100% true.
that'd be crazy. Yeah, because it would literally be going by that list in the order. Um, but I guess we'll see. Um, we also have, let's see what else. Oh, we had so here's our little tidbit of anime because we don't really talk too
Mhm.
much about anime, obviously not being the biggest fans, but All Might was announced for the next 3 liter soda. So we're still getting 3 liter sodas, still a thing. But it's cool. We're getting into like the anime world now with this, of course. It is a bigger character, kind of like it to me. It kind of fits into the like this would
It
be in a
works.
3 liter. It makes sense. Versus like some characters that we've said that should not have been. So definitely a cool one. If you guys are big anime fans, like, do you love this that they're actually doing this? And what do you think about the whole common chase thing? Is it a good, chase? And do you want more anime characters? Because now that they've made this, it probably opens up the door to potentially get some more. And it is interesting because I think All Might in the regular size sodas was one of the first anime, like true anime sodas, I think that came out as well. If I'm not mistaken. I remember it having like 25,000. Like it was
I
like
think
one
it
of those
was.
ones that it was like to me, it reminded me of Thanos, where it was like there was so many of them. They just like sat around and the values of them are really not worth anything. And it was like that. So now we're getting it in 3 liter, which is interesting. Being one of the first like big anime characters like that to kind of be in it, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And it makes me feel like that will sell out pretty quickly when it gets released
Yeah, I didn't see the piece count. I don't remember exactly what it was, but if it's on the lower end, it'd be make more sense. But who knows? I'll probably
because
make it
we
a bigger
haven't
one.
really. Obviously, the anime pops always sell out, so it goes within that line. But besides those, I mean, the last like true sellout we had was the Wednesday Adams pop, which I'm like still
Which
shocked
is
that that was.
still not restocked.
Yeah, part of me is like, maybe they're like, we're not gonna do it, which goes against them making money. To actually keep it like desirable, which I would
Yeah,
like. I didn't get it, which
I know. I didn't either. I was
which
so mad.
sucks, but it's cool though. I wish they do that more often. Because
Makes sense.
honestly, just speaking of exclusives, like the next one that just recently came out, um, one of the most recent ones, because they've been actually chucking them like every freaking day. I feel like now we've been getting so many Funko Shop
Yeah,
exclusives, but the Spider Punk one, I thought
yeah,
that had potential of selling out. They even had a limit. There was a queue to even get it, but you can still
yeah,
buy it. Um,
yeah. The last one definitely that like made a big thing where it's like it sold out. There was it was like whatever was definitely an anime one,
yeah,
right?
I can't
I
keep
think it was
track, but yes, it was an anime
that
one.
one that had the chase.
Yeah, I think it's a one piece character.
Yeah, and it was like super popular or whatever. But yeah, they've been like spitting out like something like that, which is cool and chase and has like exclusivity and whatever it is, and like the molds are cool. But they have been putting out a lot of like you know it's this normal pop essentially with a Funko, like the Yellowstone one, like Rip, like it's just like a
Yeah.
regular pop basically with a sticker on it, and they've been doing that a lot with some Funko Shop exclusives. But
It's
I
just
mean,
funny. Like, I don't want to go on a rampage, but I want everyone to please comment your opinion on this, going back to Yellowstone. And if you're not familiar with the show, you may not have any input, but like, that is such a weak, like, that is the epitome of Funko they need to get a way of doing. Like, there should be one rip pop. Him holding a cooler doesn't deserve, even though he is actually my favorite character in the show, he doesn't, there shouldn't be two of them like that. It's just dumb.
yeah, it is a.
Like,
I mean, like that pop itself is cool. Like they could
it
have had
should have
that
just been the
been
one
the
holding the
pop.
cooler,
Yeah, the
and
one.
that's
Yeah,
it. Or he should have had a different outfit on or something.
yeah,
Like
it's literally the
just
same.
something. It's the same. It kind of reminds me of the
uh,
Damon pop when he's just holding an
yeah,
egg.
yeah,
They
and it
gotta
made it
stop
Funko Shop exclusive. Yeah,
they have to stop doing that.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
getting a little out of hand.
it's just yeah. And then it just me I don't know. Not that we are in it for the value or even like the scarcity of these pops, but it's just kind of like, why are there two options of these things? Like they're just as a collector as a whole, it's like I don't need like those two Damon pops. I don't need these two. Like I'm gonna
I
get
know.
the
I
rip
only
pop.
ended up getting one. I mean, the same thing with Rhaenyra, even keeping it on House of
Yeah,
Dragon. They came out with the Funko Shop exclusive version of her, and there was a regular one. I only ended up getting one of them. It's like
yeah.
that usually happens a lot. Like I'll choose between the two, which one do I think I like a little bit cooler or whatever, and I'll just grab that. Now I have that character essentially. Unless it's like of completely different mold and a completely different type of one. Otherwise, most of the time it's like such a small difference that it's like they're just putting out another SKU for no reason to have excess that they're
Yeah,
gonna have to
just
get
to
rid
do
of
it.
later anyways, because it's gonna be interesting. But like it kind of I did want to mention this, but it kind of like goes back to like the old Funko from the last couple years that we were like, this Funko is not going to last. But it does seem a little bit like, even though they're still kind of doing that, that overall we're not getting as much like pushed at us. Like, because even when we were looking and talking about this news in the last couple
Yeah,
of weeks, even though it's been a couple of weeks, like we have a few more things to talk about, but it wasn't like
what it's
sometimes in
been.
the past where we're just getting like ripped with like stuff nonstop. And if that's the case, that's smart because that's good. That means they're slowing down a bit on like oversaturating us with too much stuff. But there's still like little things like this where it's like, all right, amazing that we're getting a line, amazing that we're getting these characters, but it's like just trim some of that fat. We don't need that one little extra one just to get another one out, when you could just do a different character or you could just take it out completely. So, but I don't know.
Another thing though, that this is super cool and interesting. We've talked about stuff like this in the past, even though he's a straight up jabroni. They're coming out with a Bryce Harper Funko Gold, which will be the first ever baseball Funko Gold, which is cool.
Oh yeah, dude, I did not even put that together. I
Oh, you
was
didn't?
thinking
Okay.
about it. No, I was thinking about it like we had them already, and I just realized we've been talking so long
Yeah.
that baseball has not, and they kind of hinted that baseball would have one, and that this was the first one. Holy crap! I totally was not even
Which
thinking
makes
that.
it kind of desirable as a collector. I really wish it was a different player. I would try to get it somehow. I just don't want this. So they're giving it out at the
He did.
Phillies game.
Yes, for those who don't know, the diehard
Dude,
Mets fan,
yeah.
the one guy that went from one team he hated in his division to another team that he hates in his division.
Um, yeah, I don't want any brave shit either.
Yeah.
But so there's 14,000 of them
Okay.
giving out to the games. But here's the kicker, which I know we talked about. I find it hilarious. They're for fans 14 and under.
Yep.
There's no way Funko told them that, in my opinion. That's someone on the Phillies marketing team who thinks this is a toy.
Yeah.
And I actually can see people.
Justified though, like it makes sense. Like they'd be like, "Oh, why?" I mean, if you think about it, when they give out the bobbleheads, they probably are just, even though they know not only kids like bobbleheads, they the
They don't
the
put an age
team
restriction
or
on
the
that.
no, no, but I'm saying the team themselves probably look at it like, "Oh, we're gonna give this toy out to people." But no, they do age restrictions at some stuff though. I do know that for a fact
Okay.
because I've seen stuff at Yankees games that sometimes it only goes to kids. So it's not like the Phillies are the only ones doing this. Like I don't know if I've seen it with like everything. Like
It's
definitely
like a
not.
kid's t-shirt or something like
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean that, but I mean, I'm thinking. I want to say that there was something at a Yankee game that I remember them saying. I don't know if it was a hat or it was something like that, and it was something that was given. Now, when the Dave Wright pop was handed out, that was just handed out to anyone.
To everyone.
It's always obviously the first however many because it is a limited number
Yes.
usually. Um, but normally it's a limited just amount that they have. This is like a piece count
Yep.
limited number, like basically, which is cool. But yeah, like Charlie was saying, like what's cool about it is obviously it's the first baseball one. We've been talking about wanting baseball ones and that they should get this. I think baseball gold is kind of like the ones. Like basketball kind of fit. I feel like football is the one that's the odd man out, like in the gold line that I don't think they need to be. But I feel like baseball fits into like the gold like mold like perfectly. I
Yeah.
think baseball players would look great in there. And obviously now we're getting one. It's cool that it's a special one. We've always loved this idea when and it seems to be that baseball teams are the ones that are pulling it off the best, where they partner up with Funko somehow and they have a pop or a soda or now a gold that they give out at their games. And it's always been something that we both have been like super, super about, whether it's our own very own teams or it's on the West Coast with, Seattle teams and San Francisco and stuff like that. Like it's cool that they're doing this. And now we're going to get gold, but now hopefully we get some more, here and there. And like it's a cool thing, definitely that. But it is interesting that it's limited to an age thing because now one of two things. One, people like us can't just go and get it necessarily unless we're with a child. And two, like, how are they gonna check this child
I
out? Like
agree.
if they're
And
like how
there's
old
no,
they
if
are.
I went to this game, there's no way I'm not getting one. Like I look at it that way. I wouldn't. I leave that stadium. Like, it's funny you bring this up. So I'm actually going
Do you
to
know
a
who they're playing that game?
I don't know who they're giving it out that what even game it is. Do you?
Yeah, oh yeah. So it's
I know they
the
said it, but I don't remember.
27th, August 27th.
Okay.
So we got to look at it because imagine it's against the Mets.
I don't think it is.
You have a reason to be there.
What's funny, I'm going to
No?
the Met game where they're giving out a handmade by robots, Mr. Met,
Oh, that's cool.
for any age because the Mets know what it's like. It has also just dawned on me that before you were giving a dig at Harper from going to the Nationals to the Phillies. Um, so that's why you mentioned that before, right? From one rival
Yeah,
to
yeah.
another. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
because it was funny that he
yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, I know you
Dude,
don't like him and you
I just
dislike him
hate
for
that dude.
reasons, but it's just funny that the two different teams he played for were both teams that you
Yeah, I
obviously would
know.
not
No,
be a
even though
fan of anyways.
it's just funny how like ever since he has left the Nationals, they've just been terrible.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
he's a great player. The thing about him is it's funny because we're going to get into this like sports talk, but obviously we're
yeah,
diehard sports
let's do
fans,
it.
but um he's like they're different, but he's like a LeBron. And let's say you obviously love LeBron
He
in
is
the
like you just took the words right out of my
exactly
mouth.
in
So
the
continue.
sense of that he was a child like phenom.
Yeah.
16 years old, he was on Sports Illustrated. Like he was a huge deal. He was one of those
Yep.
people that was like, this guy's gonna be something. Can't wait till this guy comes. Same thing. Same with same type happened with LeBron. I mean, maybe in football with Trevor Lawrence, maybe because he was talked about for a long time too,
Yep.
but he's not up there yet. And he obviously panned out. He was great. He was, still he was a face, but he also still is like that. He he has that face you could definitely punch, and
Oh,
you
he's
could
a
definitely
dick.
see you can
Sorry.
see yourself like not liking him as a person. And like, yeah, I get that whole thing. And then like when you're a not like for that team, like I didn't he even like when he switched to the Phillies, he said something about the Nationals, even though he was going to the Phillies or something.
In his
Something in his interview.
yes, which is I'm just like, oh my God. The fact I don't know.
That's
I
funny.
know it's a business at the end of the day, sports, but like I lose the respect for players like him where he was basically like, I'm a national for life. I'm bringing the,
Yes,
multiple
yes.
championships here. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Phillies offered him more money. So he left. Like, I don't know. It just like rubs me the wrong way. I mean, he's not the first and he's not the last. But then it also, I hated that they went to the World Series last year. Like,
Yeah. And
I
he
mean,
kind of went off too.
yeah, he did.
The
So,
Cardinals are playing the Phillies that day.
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, it's a cool thing. Maybe we'll get some more of these like other big names and people. Like I could totally see them making like a Shohei one like this. Like, you gotta have like the big
Yeah.
names in the big markets as well. Like LA will probably get something. Obviously Philly did. I'm sure a New York team might get something like that. It just makes sense. But it's cool. I'm glad that they're doing that. I did want to talk about a couple sodas that I was pretty excited for. We got a Gemini exclusive Creature Black Lagoon soda, which I actually just ordered. Very excited to get that one. That one looks super cool.
It
The
does.
chase is like metallic, really awesome. There was another Squid Games one, the female character Kang. She's gonna be another one. So I think now she's the second or third. Is
She's
there another?
the second official, no, third, because we got the manager.
Oh yeah, which was like announced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because obviously, and then we have like the Funko the Freddy Funko
Well,
versions or whatever. As sodas. So those were definitely like two super cool ones. Like I said, the Gemini exclusive one, I was really excited. Both me and Charlie were able to grab from Gemini. Speaking of the Darth Maul soda, which
yes. I can't
can't
wait
wait
for
to
that.
get that one in. Hopefully we can pull the chase of that because that thing is super sick. Um, and then I did want to talk about the how do you is it facet
I
facet
think it's Facet.
facet. So that line obviously that has been part of the Disney 100, which we've seen like this whole like gem looking style of the pops. We did get the mini, we got Black Panther, and then the R2D2, right? Was
Yep.
was that
R2D2.
officially it came out, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So those
I
were
have
like the
it.
first three. There was like silhouettes, and we thought that was all it's gonna be because it kind of panned three different parts of Disney.
Yep.
And now it looks like we're getting another three 3 pack, let's say, whatever. Tinkerbell, we did see that was kind of rumored, and that's when we were like, all right, well, there's obviously more than three, and they're gonna milk the hell out of this. And that's when we got Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell one looks pretty cool. It fits her really
It
well. The colors
does.
are nice too. So if like you're a fan of that, that's definitely a good one. I believe did that drop today
That
or
dropped. Yes.
yeah,
Well,
did.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so well, yesterday. So that
Yeah.
did drop. And then we got silhouettes of when we saw that one of what we could potentially be getting next as well. And one looks like it's going to be a Darth Vader, and then the other one looks like it's probably an Iron Man. So pretty interesting that we're getting. So they're really keeping it with like a true Disney, a Marvel, and a Star Wars. So it's kind of cool that, and I like that they're doing them in like these packs. It's not something I'm going to continue to collect, even though I
Yeah.
really like the Black Panther, and I did grab the mini just kind of because it was the first one and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know your thoughts on like on the line or the other three that were at least that were
Yeah. I
potentially
mean,
getting
I
next.
definitely like the line. I do have all of them that have come out so far. I mean, I'm pumped about the Vader. I don't care if it's the same mold. I do think the you took the words right out of my mouth. The Tinkerbell one like really works. They've done a good job of picking characters that like just like look good in this design, as I think Iron Man will as well. The only thing I'm just thinking about this now that bothers me is there's one huge pillar of the Walt Disney Company that should be included in this that hasn't yet is Pixar. And maybe if they, I'm assuming they're going to milk this for a year. So we'll probably get another three. And
Yeah,
maybe the Disney one could be like a Pixar character.
yeah,
But I do
maybe that's
think,
their way of kind of
yeah,
putting
it
it in
could
there.
be. I just think it's weird we haven't gotten a Pixar character yet. Like to
Yeah, we
get,
got Minnie and Tinkerbell's
and
first
this is
two
a
you and
lot
I
coming
got.
from like someone who loves Star Wars and Marvel. I love Pixar too. Like there should be a Pixar character, whether it's Buzz, Sully, something before we get two Marvel characters and two Star Wars characters.
Yeah,
But
it has
I'm
been
just like thinking
interesting.
about that right now.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, and I could see them putting it as just the main Disney one, like kind of copying it out as
Yeah.
putting it in there. But yeah, it could have totally been part of its own little thing. And there's enough iconic
Yeah,
Pixar characters
totally.
to definitely get a couple of them out at least. Um, but yeah, it is interesting that they did that. And then, I mean, even like with the 25th classic like line, we the second one to come out was Lotso.
Yeah.
So we're already getting like, with that side, they knew the importance of, Toy Story specifically, being one of the biggest Pixar ones. But yeah, it was interesting. Sure. Um, what else we got here? Oh, I did want to mention this because I know you were talking about this previously, I think, or something. But the Funko app,
I just was about
it
to say
did,
that. So yeah.
yeah, the Funko app. So like, what are your thoughts on that? Because that was a little like
I mean, the
we had
Funko,
talked about it before how bad it was, but
it's still trash.
yeah, no,
I'm sorry. I don't get it. I even like you don't go through such a big like rebrand of a website and come out the other end of it being worse than what it used to be, in my opinion. And it's just so funny. Do you remember? And I'm pretty sure you were collecting Funkos by now, probably, but they bought a company that had like an amazing app, and then they sent through an update, and it turned into the Funko app. Were you aware of
yeah,
that?
yeah, it was something else. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. It was.
I don't remember what it was called. If
Yeah,
anyone
it
remembers,
wasn't
drop it.
that long. I mean, it was a while ago, but it wasn't that long ago because I definitely do remember that. Because yeah, that was because I remember it being interesting that it was like connected to Funko, but it wasn't Funko, and it was a way of you just to me it wasn't like what it is now. Obviously, it does a little bit more technically, but it
Yeah,
was more just like this is where you would store what was it called? Where you would store your collection.
yeah.
Essentially a
I
way
think it
to
had Pedia in
monitor
it, maybe, or something. I don't remember the name.
pop PD pop
If anyone knows, let us know in the
pop.
comments.
It was like something like that.
It was a great app, and most of the time I feel like when a company like a big company purchases another company who's doing something better than them, they kind of just like reskin it and call it a day. Funko like actually I think they bought it just for the data, and they like totally made that app has just never been the same in my opinion. Was super excited when they were saying they were doing some work on it,
Mhm.
and it's still it's just way they're way too big of a company to have a buggy app like this. I even remember when they just redid the website and they you were allowed to make those new like Funko avatars. That was kept crashing.
Yeah. It's just crazy. It's like it's all like structural stuff because the new app, like in what it is and like what you can get out of it is like an amazing idea. And it's like
Agreed.
it's essentially the Funko site. You got links to get to the site, you got whatever stuff drops out that's new, what's hot, news, all that stuff is in there. And then you got a section for your collection. You got your own profile, you got where you can get pop price guide essentially, and you can see what your things are valued at. And but it's just like it's just so buggy and it's slow. And for the longest time, you couldn't even scan items, so I couldn't
No.
add anything, or if you clicked on it, wouldn't add. And now they did an update, and it's like, all right, cool. Made it a little. It seems a little like the look of it looks like the site now. So like branding wise and everything, it's like cool, but it was letting me add things, but it's still like very slow, very buggy to load. Like if you're scrolling, like let's say there's 100 of something that you're searching for,
Yeah.
you get down to 20 and you have to wait like 3 minutes for it to load the next 20. And it's just like, what the hell's going on? Like for a company so big, and it's like, it's not that hard to get an app that's like clean and smooth nowadays. Like you can get something figured out. And maybe they just put too much into it. And it's almost like
Yeah.
the whole website in it. Maybe they shouldn't have done that and just kept it a little more simplified. But yeah, I don't know like if you guys what your thoughts are, but it's like it definitely was. I mean, it was different before, like you said. It was obviously a lot cleaner and easier because it was strictly more about the collection and putting your collection and stuff like that. It didn't have as many of these little like
No.
links and things in it, but
It
that
lets you
just
have
kind of made it
friends
worse.
too, which I don't like.
Oh yeah.
That was like my favorite part of it. And I know now you can make like a shared list and share it with someone, but like Funko's really missing out on the social aspect of their app. Like honestly, I haven't, and I feel like you're the same way here. Like we haven't really been into Whatnot as we used to be when it first was becoming really popular. But I feel like they should look at Whatnot for an example and like look at how their profiles are looked and you can friend people. Like there should be some sort of following aspect on this app.
Hmm.
They're really missing out on that, and I don't know why they've never brought that back.
I figured it out. So it was in 2019 when it changed.
Okay.
And it used to be called Stashpedia,
Stashpedia. Okay. Yeah, it was amazing.
and it really was. It was like perfect to put your collection. That's like literally how I would always keep my collection in there. It's perfect. And I remember when they were like kind of like, oh, it's gonna kind of essentially be taken over by Funko and rebrand. I was like, oh, it's even cooler. It should be smoother. It should be more connected. And it's like,
Yep.
no, it's been
Another
like
thing they just did in the
a
app, which
mess.
really bothers me, was, and I want to pull it up so I don't like mess it up. There used to be like a subsection of like what the collection was. So you could go into, I'll use the NFTs for an example, even though it's taken them forever to put the NFT pops in this app.
Yeah, I know
But
what
it
you mean.
used to be like, it would say Jay and Silent Bob, and then the next category would be Funko NFT, or it would be like, we can just say The Mandalorian, and then it would be Star Wars. Now they got rid of like the secondary characterization. So when I go, you can't just look at all the NFT pops anymore. It's not like a thing. They've now just made them all like the Star Trek ones. You just have to look under the Star Trek collection. You can't go to a Star Trek pop and then click the NFTs to look at all the other NFT ones. It's super
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah.
That just went away with the new update. It used to be that way.
Oh, really?
They're
Yeah, it's
clearly just having
it's just
issues with how
it's
they're, manning all their metadata,
buggy.
but it still looks beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. The look is nice, and that's what I was saying. Like the branded part
Yeah.
of it's like great, but it's just like the back end servers and whatever
Yeah.
it is that they're doing. They need some help. They need to figure it out. Figure it out soon. Um, anything else that kind of
No, I mean, I feel like that was really it, I mean, I guess it was a decent amount of cool stuff. The only other thing I guess I wanted to talk about a little bit was what we thought of the Star Wars Celebration announcements. I know a lot of people keep asking us to give our opinions on shows and movies, and we kind of just like either run out of time or,
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I want to know what your guys' opinion is because me and Migs are always kind of like that time we can talk about it, it's too late, just based off of our, our
yeah, our
lives and our
schedule.
schedules. But if you don't, maybe we'll do like a review of season 3 of Mandalorian just for
Yeah,
everyone. If let us know if you would like that. But I'm just curious what the big thing that came out of Star Wars Celebration, we saw the Ahsoka trailer. What did you think of that?
yeah. I mean, it looks awesome. It obviously the Ahsoka character was amazing already when she would just pop in Mandalorian and then in Boba Fett. Not as much. She was obviously just kind of like there a little
Yeah.
bit. But in Mando, like her scenes were always awesome, and anytime she was in an episode, it was always like a good episode. So it was always exciting. Rosario Dawson, I think, is like doing a perfect job at this role. Um, but I think I think I was already excited for it, and I was like not fully aware of all the characters because I know we had a
Yep.
conversation like I'm going to get into watching Rebels and like try to get into like the animated because it's mostly where this whole storyline's coming from. Is it was all animated at one point. Now we're getting live action, so it's cool to do that. But I also think what's getting me a little bit more excited and more like anticipating it is sad to say that I'm not as hyped with this season of Mandalorian that I'm kind of like getting to a point that I'm like, I need something badass. And I feel like that's what that show's going to be. And I feel like the previous shows, like even Andor, like they were good shows, but they didn't give me that like what season one and season two of Mando did, right? And we obviously know what happened with Boba Fett, and we both kind of talked about this in previous episodes because
Yep.
back then we kind of did do like some brief talks about that, and then the Obi-Wan show was cool, but they were all kind of like I feel like building for something that's going to hopefully be coming, and hopefully that's what this is going to do. That's kind of like my main aspect of it. But yeah, based off the trailer, obviously it was a teaser. You got a lot of cool looking like scenes. You see some characters that we're probably going to be getting. We're obviously getting a huge reveal soon with Thrawn. Obviously, they didn't show it, so that was cool. The way they
Yeah.
did it, you see the back of his head, basically.
They showed
Um,
at Star Wars Celebration though.
they show him.
Yeah. I there's a leak, there's an extended trailer online, which
Ah,
I'll send
I
it to
didn't
you.
see that.
It's
Nice,
pretty
nice.
sick.
That's cool, and it's cool that they're doing like I think this is the perfect thing to do when this doesn't happen often, but when something is built in animation and then it comes to live action, that they're using the voice actor to be the actor.
Yeah, which is awesome for that
That's
because
like
he
perfect
fits
because you,
perfectly.
yeah, because you like think you don't have to like kind of get someone who sounds like because if you've seen somebody for so long and in animation you're mostly hearing them obviously to see them and have them be the same voice that actually kind of is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's because that's obviously what they did for Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff,
Hmm.
but it's like Ashley Eckstein, who's the voice of Ahsoka. Unfortunately, as awesome as she is, her like physicality and presence
Yeah,
on screen, like
yeah, you could tell it's
it's
not going to always
yeah,
happen,
it's
but
just
it's
but
cool when
it's
they do it.
super cool when it does. And
Yeah,
but like I'm so like to me, Ahsoka, she's already one of my favorite characters, and everyone knows I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've watched all the animated stuff, and I think this is gonna be like peak Star Wars. Like, I think this is what everyone's been waiting for. Everything you love about Star Wars is going to be in the show. And like, I know Mick said he's going to start watching Rebels. Like, I recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, if you're pumped for Ahsoka, you definitely should. But don't not watch the show if you haven't seen Rebels because
yeah,
Rebels is a big commitment. If you have Disney Plus, they kind of show you, they've curated some episodes that you can watch to, know a little bit that's going on. But I know Dave Filoni has kind of, which of course he's not going to say this because he wants you to watch his show, but I do believe him. You can enjoy the show without seeing Rebels, but if you watch Rebels, I mean, this essentially is a sequel to Rebels. Um, but it looks so awesome. And if we do end up doing a Mando, recap, I don't want to spoiler my opinions, but like I definitely have been disappointed. I think there's a lot of drama going on behind the scenes and it like shows.
yeah,
And it's sad because I think that was like the most universally loved thing that Disney has done since they've acquired Star Wars. And like this season just like isn't it.
I think
Like,
it's funny you just said it. So I think it's like it's so funny because this I feel like can happen with multiple shows, movies, whatever. Where you almost like have to find a pocket that where you can be successful and big, but not too big.
yeah,
And I feel like there's been some stuff, and this Mandalorian and the fact that like Grogu is almost like a big deal because some things get so big that they change like the layout of what was going to happen originally or whatever
yeah,
it is, or to cater to things because as bad as we want to say, in especially in the entertainment business, money is king.
yeah,
And if whatever's going to bring you dollars or what you think is going to bring you butts in a seat, like that's usually what you're going to try to do. But sometimes it's not the best thing, especially in the long term. And I feel like that's what happened with this. And I mean, I know you know a lot of the insights, and like, I'm not trying to spoil a lot of stuff when
yeah,
I'm saying this. I'm kind of saying it as vague as I can, but I feel like that happens a lot of times with certain shows and movies and things. Like I said, I think that they blow up too fast. They get too big too fast. I mean, it happens with a lot of things. I mean, freaking happened with Funko, if you think about it. When we talked about this
yeah,
2020 and it blowing up too big, right? So, and then you just can't, you're trying to like always outpace it and you never can. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with Mandalorian. And you could tell that with all the internal, shit that's going on, whether it's with Pedro, whether it's with Favreau, whether any of them, you can tell things were like changed, rushed,
yes,
not totally really thought out, and like, and it's messy. And that's when like if you're just a general fan, maybe you can still like enjoy it. But like when you like with us, we're like really deep into film and show and things like that, you see it and you can tell. And it doesn't mean things are terrible.
no,
Like I wouldn't put this in like the terrible category, but because 1 and 2 were so amazing, like the gap is just like, and it's sad to see because you want it to stay up there, because of how excited it was. And like, yeah, that's kind of where I think about too. Obviously, like you said, if we're coming out in a day or so, we'll have the finale finally to see
yeah,
kind of like how this wraps up. And like I see it kind of getting better because obviously the last episode was great. But it's gonna be interesting. Like, hopefully, we can talk about it, and we'll see if we can figure out to try to get something out to maybe just recap it, even if it's just like a short
yeah,
clip thing or something of us talking about it. Maybe we'll do that. Um, because we do want to start doing this, but obviously, like a lot of times, these shows, like we film usually Sunday, Monday, something early in the week, and these shows come out like a Wednesday or a Thursday, and then it's like by the time Sunday, Monday comes around, the new episode's about to come out again, and it kind of like throws us off. So it's just like the timing has been weird with a lot of, especially
yeah.
the Disney Plus stuff specifically.
I know. I wish it still came
But
out on Friday. I don't like that it got
yeah,
changed
yeah,
to
that which would
Wednesday.
be perfect, right? Or,
Yeah,
or Sunday night even. That'd be amazing. But yeah, but yeah, I think we could wrap it up there though
yeah,
because
totally.
we definitely had a lot of stuff, a lot of news. And like Charlie said, we'll maybe try to talk about something with the Mando and see what. But definitely give us your thoughts. We would love to hear, what you guys thought about stuff that's coming out, all the different Funkos, all the pops, sodas, whatever. What were some of your favorites? What do you think about Star Wars Celebration stuff like we were talking about, and now this whole Star Wars new shows and things, and obviously a Ahsoka show that we're both super super pumped about, and a bunch of other stuff coming out soon that we will continue to talk about like we do. But we appreciate you guys, and Charlie can let you know where to follow us. Please make sure you're following, like this video, please, please, please. Really appreciate it if you like it. But yeah, let them know all the
Yeah.
all the goodies.
So if you're listening on this podcast platforms, please follow us, like us, whichever platform you're on, they call it. And on Spotify, I say this all the time. You please interact with us. We put up polls and questions there. That really helps. The more people that interact, the more people are going to find this podcast. And then obviously, make said if you're on YouTube, please like this video, comment, hit that notification bell so you know when new videos are coming out. And please, we really hope by this point you've subscribed. But if you haven't, please subscribe to our channel because we really are trying to continue to grow this, and we need people to do all that stuff for that to happen. And then obviously you can find us on Instagram at Collector Chatter, and then both of our accounts, which is if you're watching on YouTube, they're always right under our pictures. But if you're not, that's at pop_Migs and at collector_Charlie. So with all that being said, everyone, please, until the next video, collecting is the way. Later.
Bye everyone.